W202 c-230 Mercedes timing chain tensioner. Anyway, mine was just rattling a tiny little bit, kind of like a diesel sounded like at idle, and especially at idle in gear, and more so when it was warm than cold. So I'm assuming that the oil passages in the timing chain tensioner might be a little clogged up. If somebody, previous owner, had missed a few oil changes or something, pretty easy for those little oil passages to get clogged up. So we're going to pull it out, clean it, see what happens. Might be toast, might have to replace it, but I don't know, I'm not sure. Anyway, first thing to do is clean the engine a little bit, because you're going to have to, you don't want to get anything to fall down in there. When you pull the chain tensioner out, that goes right into fresh oil inside the timing chain case, and you don't want to get that all crappy. Pull your air box off, the two clips to the mass airflow sensor, and then take off the front snorkel that goes into the front grille, behind the front grille, and pull the whole thing off. It just pops off. No bolts, no screws holding it on, just yank that off. And anyway, the tensioner is, I don't know if you can see my finger on it here. It looks like a nut, a big nut here, behind the water pump housing, and just below the dipstick tube. So anyway, we're gonna have to get to that, and that's why we pulled the airbox off, which is 3 seconds pulling it off. Now, first thing you're gonna have to do, this is a 26 or 27 millimeter nut. I've got a 1 1/16 SAE on here, basically the exact same size, and there are marks on the back of the crank. See the crankshaft sprocket here? There's timing marks on there. Anyway, there's a whole ton of them, and what you want to do is get to 20 degrees before after top dead center. So you're cranking it over so that your engine is 20 past top dead center, which should be 20, right there. Always turn it clockwise, don't turn it counterclockwise. And it's going to be pretty hard for you to see, but at the end of my finger here, there's a mark that says 20, and I wish I could zoom in on that for you, but I can't in this light and with this camera. Anyway, it's marked 20, and that's what you want to check. And to make sure of that, take off the oil fill cap. Holy cow. I put it on there tight last time for some reason. And the two cam lobes for the, yeah, they are off. The intake cam lobes for the intake valves should be facing up and off of the cam, or off of the valves. And they are. You can feel them, they're pointing straight up. That's just to confirm that you're at the proper spot, 20 degrees after top dead center. Anyway, that'll hold, according to the manual, that will hold the timing chain, keep it from slipping off of the timing gears. Anyway, we'll go to pull this out and I'll get back to you. Now at the end of the adjuster, there's a 10 mil, right here, there's a 10 mil hex head or Allen key. You have to, get this in there, you're going to turn that one full turn open counterclockwise, and loosen that and open it one full turn. See what I'm doing here. There we go. I think you can see on the end there. Of course, I've got my wrench set the wrong direction. Okay. Trying to get a better angle on this for you. I guess that's about as good as it gets. Now we're going to loosen this one full turn. And then we're going to take the entire tensioner out. Back in a second. Okay, now you're going to use the same socket that you used to turn the crankshaft, 27 millimeter or 1 1/16, and take out the, oops, where are we? Hoping you can see on the end of that, taking out the idler tensioner. If you've loosened the idler tensioner with the 10 mil Allen key before. If you've loosened that, you have got to continue on and take this out. You cannot put it back on. You can't just tighten it back up. This has to be done in one whole procedure. I'm not 100% certain why. I looked at the schematics of the part, and honestly, I've been working on cars for years and years, and I don't 100% get it. But that's what the Mercedes manual says, and I'm going to listen to them because they know a hell of a lot more than me. Anyway, I'm just unscrewing it by hand now, and I'll show you when it's out. Okay, so I've unscrewed the tensioner. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, just for the sake of it, put a plastic bag or something, or a towel over your alternator, just in case oil spills out. You don't want oil to spill down inside your alternator. I jacked up this side of the car a little bit just to keep that from happening, but it'll probably spill out of there a little bit anyway. So here's the tensioner, here's the main body. This piston comes out that way. You push it out after you unscrew the 10 mil, the main cap here. You pull this out. The spring comes out with that, and it's like a rubber. God, I don't know what the heck this is. Not sure what any of this thing. Not sure too much what any of this does. Like I said, I've been working on cars for years. I'm not 100% sure how this works, but I can tell you that there is some crappy looking carboned up old oil on here. So I'm going to clean that out with some seafoam spray and clean everything out. The oil passages need to be, there's an oil passage in here. I know there's a check valve or a pressure valve in here that keeps tension on the chain even when the engine's off, because it does use oil pressure to keep it riding nice and keep the chain firm, so along with spring pressure. So I'm going to clean that all out and then throw it back in. Okay, now the inner pin, when you in order to take this out, it's going to be inside here when you first pull the tensioner out. You have to tap it out this way. You just put a blunt screwdriver in there and tap it. I used a 1/4-inch socket driver just to gently tap it through. It only comes out the one way, and it goes in through the back way. Now what you're going to want when you're putting it back together is push it in until it's flush with the outer edge here. And once it's flush, you don't want it to go any further, you don't want it to be further back. It's got to be in there, but flush with here, and then I'll be back to you in 2 seconds. Okay, so now you can see that the inner spring pin is flush with the outside casing. And to do that, I had my 1/4-inch socket. I just put the handle back in, and it slid perfectly inside, and then I tapped, because there's a little spring clip on the end of the inner pin that holds it in and keeps it from coming back out this way, so it only goes that way. So it has to go out that way, out through the bottom when you're taking it apart, out this way, and then it has to go in through the top when you put it in, and it has to be flush when it's done. It has to be flush here, and put the aluminum, excuse my friggin' sniffling again, the aluminum washer back on, and we're going to bolt that back into the timing chain case, and it's I think 40 to 50 pound-feet of torque. I would start at 40 since it's aluminum. I don't want to go any higher than that, just in case. But this is all cleaned out with used seafoam to take everything off. It takes all the nice carbon and crap off there that's in there. There was some carbonized oil and crap in there, but it's all off now. Okay, now the outer piece has to go in one piece with everything all together. So you're going to take the outer, the 10 mil hex outer nut. It's got a valve in there. I guess the pressure equalizes this from both directions to keep spring tension on the tensioner. It's the only way I can think of it. Make sure you have your washer on there, spring, and I guess it's just like a stopper. Keeps the spring from compressing too much. But it slides down the middle of the spring. This all has to be inserted as one piece back in. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. I removed the bag from on top of the alternator. There was no drip here since I jacked up the side of my car. So I'm going to slide that back into the housing. So you know what, I think you can slip the spring in first by itself. That's not going to hurt anything. It's a lot easier too. And then the end cap. I'm trying to see what I'm doing while I'm trying to let you see what I'm doing, but it's kind of hard to let you see what I'm doing. It's so damn dark in there. Anyway, I'm going to need two hands for this. I have to put some tension on this spring to push it in. I'll be back to you in a second. Now, I'd be completely lying to you if I didn't tell you that pushing this spring in and tightening the outer nut at the same time was not a soul-robbing pain in the ass. There's no way you're doing this without the airbox off, so you got to take the airbox off. I actually tied the front upper heater hose over to get it out of my way. It's taken me almost an hour to push that damn thing back in, and it was a pain in the butt. You could look out and get it in really quick. I haven't completely finished tightening it up yet. Well, that's all that's left to do is tighten it up, but you have got to put the outer nut on first, the outer housing, then put the spring in with the inner little rubber bushing, and finally the end cap. It has to be done in that order according to the manual. So that's the way I did it. It's the first time I've actually consulted the manual for anything on this thing, but anyway, that's the way they say to do it, so that's the way I did it, and it is a bitch. Okay, all back together, running. Expletives were used in abundance doing this, but yeah, it took about an hour and 15 minutes altogether, I guess, maybe an hour and 20. Someone put the top cap on the front engine cover back on, but yeah, make sure you're clean, especially around the chain tensioner. Make sure that's good and clean, because you're going to be slopping around and flopping around in there, and you don't want to get oil inside your timing chain case. It appears to have gotten rid of that tick. It could have just been all clogged up, not 100% sure. But I think we're good.